Now checking the lineup for Heat 2A, and look who's back. It'll be Mark Tate and Smokin' Joe's, thanks to the quick work of crew chief Jim Lucero. The rest of his crew, Mark Dumars, Butch Corning, Tim McDonald, Kenny Washer, Jamie Ropp, Ken Strickland, and Barney Tafter. Hats off, guys.
Boy, that boat looks brand new, and I'm sure Mark Tate has confidence in his crew, and he'll be able to find the speed in it for sure. Here's the T Plus going out. Now, this is the boat that is the defending champion. Steve David took his first win here last year.
93 was a great year. We started off building the new two-wing boat and won the Texas race with our older boat, and then constantly worked on the two-wing boat to try to perfect it. And it started coming into its own at Seattle, where we won a couple of heats, and at Hawaii, it all kind of came to a crescendo where we had everything together that we needed. And then, of course, in the final heat, raised the world record by several miles an hour, and the boat really performed as we had expected ultimately would. 94 is going to be a different situation with the fuel restrictors, and we'll have a lot of work to make that boat work with less horsepower. I think in any competitive event, preparation is the large majority of winning, and when you win, it's a result of that preparation. So really, before the race is the most important aspect. The race is just a culmination of everything that came before. So I look to preparation to be the majority of it, and of course, the most important part is to win. Of course, Dallas, Texas is one of the finest race courses in the country because we won the first one. But it is a great race course. A little windy, a little rough, but real exciting 2-mile course. So it's obviously one of my favorites.
Now, one of the things Steve David likes is his boat rides a little light. He gets up on top of the wave action here. The start of Heat 2A right off the bat. Who goes to the front? Mark Tate in Smokin' Joe's. As they come down into turn number 1, remember, this is a dangerous turn. All the boats would like to get in that inside lane. They must hold their lanes, and they're doing a beautiful job of it now. On the far outside, Pico's American Dream, Dave Bilwak. Very good control of his boat. On the inside, the orange boat tied. Nate Brown has taken the lead.
But not without a challenge from Steve David in the T Plus in lane number 2. And also look at Smokin' Joe's with Mark Tate. Little late on the front end, and he's going to be challenged down in corner number 3 on this first lap as we look inside the cockpit of the T Plus.
And you can tell they're riding deck to deck because you don't see out of the cockpit of the T Plus. You do not see a boat in front of them or alongside, which means they are flat right next to each other. Steve David, the defending champion in the overall event here in Lake Louisville, now is your lead boat, the T Plus, and he's doing a great job. Gets a little bit light, but he does like to drive that boat light.
And look at the arc right now as the T Plus goes to the forefront over the Smokin' Joe's, who in second, and the inside in third place is the Tide.
We're seeing some great driving out here by these guys. Now, you know, it's good to remind everybody that these are just like the old dirt track racers. That back end kind of slides out as they go into the turn. The big skid fin grabs a hold of it and actually throws a second rooster tail off the boat in the turns. Right now, that skid fin is not operating. They want it razor sharp to cut through the water, and you can see a great shot of the Smokin' Joe's there. There's your distance between first and second place. There you saw the T Plus kind of jerk around. All of a sudden, that back end swung around, the skid fin kicked in, and he got control of the boat so it didn't slide out on him. Good driving by Steve David.
And for the second lap in a row, Steve David's T Plus, 135+ mile an hour as we look at our third place boat, the Tide with Nate Brown driving.
Now, you'll have to remember that as we look at the speed for Steve David, the Tide boat actually rode nose to nose with Exide in the heat just before this. Now he's having a little trouble trying to catch up to the other two boats, Smokin' Joe's in second, and this boat, the T Plus, in first. It looks like Steve David is going to take the win over the Smokin' Joe's, but I got to say again, give credit to the Smokin' Joe's crew for getting that boat out there, and then give credit to Mark Tate for having faith in his crew and the repair work they do to take that boat at top speed to a second place.
I'll tell you something, I'm noticing that when he gets enough speed, his front end comes up. I think that his ailerons in the front might have been damaged in the accident. Steve David will be the winner of Heat 2A, and here's your second place boat, which is Smokin' Joe's with Mark Tate, and I think we have problems with those front wings. They don't look like they're moving. Here's your final order of finish: T Plus, Smokin' Joe's, Tide, and American Dream.
Well, we have a great winner in Steve David taking perhaps his first stab at coming back to repeat as champion. Now, as he gets settled in down in the pit area, Jim Hendrick and Steve Montgomery, as you look at the Miss Budweiser with Mike Hansen on board. Chip Hanauer was injured in the race up in Detroit, the Gold Cup, just a week ago, and now Mike Hansen is in the seat. He'll be in lane number 2, Miss Exide. Mark Evans in lane number 1, in the boat you see there, Mitch Evans. A2 Communications in lane number 3. Let's go down to Steve Montgomery and check on the Smokin' Joes.
Here in the Smokin' Joe's pit, the boat looks pretty much like it normally would after a heat, except for some scorching on the deck and a lot of activity up here in the front. The canards had to be replaced after the incident in 1A. Jim Lucero and another crew member now are still working on the canard. There was also some attention paid to the escape hatch, which did not appear to be fastened properly when the boat got back here. But all in all, things here in the Smokin' Joe pit are returning to normal.
Down the pit, Jim Hendrick has a special guest.
Down here with Johnny Rutherford of IndyCar fame. And Johnny, what brings you to this race?
Well, I've always been an enthusiast of the unlimited hydroplanes, and of course I live in Fort Worth, so it's right over here, and Howard Lenderston and the guys with T Plus are running here today. In fact, they just won a heat, so we're pretty excited about that, and it's a great place to be.
Some years ago, you broadcast these races on NBC with Paul Page. That was in the early 80s, I believe. What changes have you noticed?
Oh, I'll tell you, a lot of changes. They've gone indoors. All the drivers are in capsules now, and they're much safer than they used to be. I can remember seeing Tommy Deeth get washed down at Clear Lake and broke his nose and nearly broke his wrist, I think, and it crushed the windshield, knocked the steering gear out of it. So they're much safer now with the canopies on them. The drivers are safe. The boats are turbine powered now, and there were a lot of the Merlin, Rolls-Royce, and Griffon engines back then. So
would you get in one now?
I can't swim that fast.
Johnny Rutherford, former Indy 500 winner, and he's in our pits today viewing these races. As you look out on the course now, it looks like the Exide is going to be first across the line as they start Heat 2B. Mark Evans in the Exide. He's being challenged in lane number 2 by the Miss Budweiser. And again, we remind you that Mike Hansen is aboard that boat because of the injury to Chip Hanauer in the Gold Cup in Detroit.
And look at the Exide come off of that exit pin. Number 2 starts down the back chute and running very well as we look inside the cockpit now of the Miss Exide, driven by Mark Evans.
A little bit of rough water. You can see the canard wings on this boat as they kind of bounce up and down in there. He controls that with his left foot. The accelerator is the right foot. The wings, the wing flaps on the front of the boat are controlled by the left foot. Here's the Miss Budweiser. Now, this is a boat that was damaged in some runs yesterday, and they are running without that tiplet in the back, and that kind of stabilizes the back end of the boat. So Mike Hansen is really operating under a handicap, and look at him go.
And look at the Budweiser hanging on the hook there in lane number 2, Dick. Now, this is the most dangerous part. Right about here, as he starts to make his exit out of a turn, he does not have that right rear non-trip surface intact. That could be dangerous, as we can see out of the front window of the Exide, the boat he's trying to catch, the Miss Budweiser.
Some real hard racing by both of these drivers. Now you can see that the Miss Budweiser is riding light from inside the canopy of the Exide. You can see the Miss Budweiser right ahead of him. Now the Exide is riding tight on the buoys, trying to hold his lane in there. He hit a buoy. He just hit a buoy, Jim.
And I believe that'll cost him 1 lap penalty. If that's the case, it'll be the A2 Communications with Mitch Evans moving up to second place. We'll have to wait for official word.
That would be the second time today that Mitch Evans has come in with a second place in the only piston-powered boat in the field. A good ride from Mike Hansen. The boat getting a little bit light on those turns, Jim.
Well, it's official now as we look inside the Exide, driven by Mark Evans. His brother Mitch is going to get second place because Mark has been penalized 1 lap for hitting the buoy as we look at our leader coming around to take the checkered flag here in Heat 2B.
Mike Hansen, who had to have the seat adjusted and the pedals adjusted inside the Miss Budweiser. He is a little bit shorter than the normal driver, Chip Hanauer, so they actually had to reconfigure the inside of that cockpit to fit him into that boat, because when a driver's inside an unlimited hydroplane, he is in there tight. And Mike Hansen is also in there as the winner of Heat 2B. He has got to be feeling mighty good about things right at the moment. Here's your second place boat, Mitch Evans, and we're inside the boat that is third in the running because of the penalty, the 1 lap penalty. Miss Budweiser, A2 Communications, and Miss Exide 1, 2, 3 in Heat 2B. 400 points for each first place. Miss Budweiser, with 2 of them, has 800 points on the day. There, the Miss Budweiser pulls into the pits. You might have wondered about the wing structure on the back of these unlimited hydroplanes. That was Ron Brown's topic in the Eagle Snacks Performance Corner.
Hi, I'm Ron Brown, the team manager of the Miss Budweiser. I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about a rear wing on the Miss Budweiser. In car racing, the rear wing is used for downforce, so the car will stick to the traffic. In hydroplane racing, it's somewhat different. We use this rear wing as a stabilizer. In the wind tunnel, we have learned where the zero setting of this wing should be. As the boat pitches up, the wing will make a correction for it and bring the front of the boat down, very similar to the elevator would be on an airplane. As the race course and conditions change and dictate to us what we need to do, we can move this wing as much as just 1/4 of an inch would give us 500 pounds of downforce or 500 pounds of lift at the propeller on the Miss Budweiser.
And let's stay with the Miss Budweiser crew as they welcome home the winner of Heat 2B.
Mike, you're the only guy in the park with 800 points. Going great so far.
Hey, that's going great. That means if we can keep it up, we'll have lane selection for the final. And this thing's going to be hard to beat if we're in lane 1 or 2. There's no doubt about it.
Is it searching a little right at the exit pin?
Not really. I'm just a little gun shy. I don't want to tear the back end up any more than we already have this weekend. So just trying to keep the thing in one piece, get our points, get it in the final.
And Bernie, you're real unhappy with the driving job.
He didn't do anything I tell him to do. I told him to back off and take it easy, you know. And he did, but he had to be first, and I'm sure proud of him.
Back at Louisville, Texas. Welcome back to the Texas Hydro Fest. And the Hydros are already on the water for the start of Heat 3A.
And you see Mark Tatus in lane 1 with Smokin' Joe's. Mitch Evans in A2 Communication lane 2, the Tide lane 3, and on the outside, the American Dream.
That's Dave Villwock, and he'll pace the boats down to the start line, and it's a good start. They bring them down and try to line them up, and when they're even in the eyes of the referees, they throw the flag to start the race. Dave Villwock taking the lead as they go into the first corner. But with that lead on the outside, it's in danger. Watch the inside boat. Smokin' Joe's has come up on the inside and led there as they start to even up coming out of the turn. Tide now has evened up with the Smokin' Joe's. Both of them are now trailing the American Dream. Pico's American Dream is your leader on the outside.
I have to say that right now the Smokin' Joe's has elevator problems in that front end, the canards. I do not think they're working because every time he steps on it, his nose comes up, he backs off so that he won't come over backwards. He's on the inside, he gets the lead temporarily, but watch the American Dream with Dave Villwock. Come on, just like that.
He's got the acceleration coming out of the corner, no question about that. The American Dream on the far outside, going the further course, but so far able to hold his speed very, very high. Dave Villwock in the blue and white Pico's American Dream has the lead. Smokin' Joe's now in second, and he's got a battle with the Tide boat. Nate Brown doing a good job of holding his boat in third place. Now, the Smokin' Joe had wing problems in that accident. Apparently, they jammed when he went end over end. So the front wings, or the canards as we call them, on that boat are jammed, and they're trying to loosen them up, but apparently it's not working just right at this point. There's your lead boat, the American Dream, and you can see the distance he now has over second place. If Mark Tate has a worry, it's the boat to the left of him as you look at the screen here, and that's, of course, the Tide boat, Nate Brown, and he's holding even with him.
And the American Dream has picked up from 136 to 141 in speed on this lap number 2. As we look at our Sea-Doo scoreboard, he's come down the back chute for the final time. He's about a half a lap away from the checkered flag. As we look at Smokin' Joe's in second place, the Tide is in third.
We remind all of the people watching again for the first time that the more these boats go around the course, each lap, the course gets a little bit rougher. There's more wake action out there, and things can happen. But it was a smooth ride for Dave Villwock in the American Dream, who takes first. Second place goes to the Smokin' Joe's. Third place will go out to the Tide boat. As you can see there, these are the cumulative points on the day. A2 Communications has 769 as he takes fourth for the first time today. This is Lake Louisville in Louisville, Texas, and we'll be back to more racing action in the Hydrofest in just a moment. Well, all day long we've been talking about a lot of horsepower on the water. How about some horsepower off the water? Yeah, big and little. The Texas Rangers with the big horses, and these kids enjoying some pony rides. You know, it's a festival whenever the unlimited hydroplanes come to town. Let's get back to the big horsepower on the water as the hydroplanes get ready for the next race. Let's go back to the last race and the winner, Dave Villwock.
Overcoming controversy, winning this one, that puts you in the final.
Well, yeah, we got there. It's been a long road and a tough road today. But the boat keeps running really, really good. And Dan Walters, Ken Ford, Fred Leland, yeah, every time they send me out there in that boat, it's just a sweetheart to drive and makes me look good.
Any strategy in the final?
We're going to try to go to the front if we can. So we'll see.
Well, the piston-powered A2 Communications has not had any real problems. 2 second places so far today, but some problems for the Smokin' Joes.
Mark, I understand you're running without canards. Is it going to be that way all day?
Well, yeah, you know, it looks that way. We really damaged one of the main structure parts of the canard on the right side, and I broke the pedal in the boat. I pushed on them so hard when I was going into the air at elevating. But they've been in stationary position, and we made some boat adjustments from the second heat that we ran to this heat after getting the boat repaired, and it's better, but I just can't use any of the horsepower. So we're going to try and see if we can get the canards to work, but it's very doubtful.
All right, let's check the lineups now for Heat 3B, and we'll get down to the final race pretty soon. And Miss Budweiser, Mike Hansen in lane 1, Steve David in T-Plus lane 2, and on the outside, Mark Evans in the Miss X side for this 3-lap sprint.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how the boats go. I'm sure the Miss Budweiser is going to be favored by a lot of folks standing on the shore, but the Miss X side had a very good run earlier, as did the T-Plus. And remember, Steve David is the defending champion in the overall event. There's the start for Heat 3B. Now to the right of your screen, that is the Miss Budweiser in lane number 1. Lane number 2 is the Miss X side, and there you see the Miss Budweiser off to the left, and that's the rooster tail that Mark Evans is looking at from the inside, picking up a little bit of the spray from that rooster tail, as a matter of fact. Miss Budweiser is taking a wild ride. A little bit of lightness for the T-Plus. He's back in 3rd place. Steve David kind of waves to the crowd there with the boat. Not that he intentionally wanted to, but he did. And here's a good shot, of the wild ride from Mike Hansen.
Not only missing the non-trip service on the right rear, he's missing the skin off of his tail on the right side. All there is a skeleton, Dick.
As we look at the 2nd place boat, the T-Plus, all in one piece, but riding in 2nd is Steve David, who, as we said before, is the defending champion in this overall event. Miss Budweiser is setting the pace out front. And there's a good shot. You can see how there's no skin on the right side of the wing. A good shot from inside, and I've got to say that the in-boat cameras have been just terrific this year. You can see the Miss Budweiser's rooster tail in the distance. This is looking at it there, and he's getting good speed out of the boat. Mike feeling more and more confident each time he gets in. There you see the T-Plus, and I say again, that boat tends to ride light. That's the way Steve David likes it.
And the wind continues to churn up Lake Louisville right here, and look at the Budweiser bounce off at corner number 4 again, Dick.
Mike Hansen is having a wild ride, but I'll tell you what, he is manhandling that boat. He has really got the touchdown more and more. He is feeling very confident about what he's doing out there. And right now he is leading the race, looking for a checkered flag. And as you look down on the boat, you can see where the skin is missing off of the tail section of the Miss Budweiser, and the airflow through there will affect the ride of the boat. Good shot to show you the distance up to 1st place from the 2nd place boat, the T-Plus. Stephen David seeing that rooster tail far off in the corner, right now settling for 2nd place. He'd like to just get the points, get into the final, hope at that point that he can really unload that engine and do some good things. This is the lead boat. This is Mike Hansen driving for Bernie Little out of Lakeland, Florida. He has really got the boat responding with all the damage that has been done to that boat. A checkered flag is starting to fly now from atop the starter's tower. Here he comes. You can hear. Wait a minute. The T-Plus, Jim. The T-Plus has gone down.
And it's going to be the X-Side taking over 2nd place. X-Side will take over 2nd as they come down to take the checkered flag. It is the Budweiser first. X-Side will be 2nd, and the T-Plus will not finish.
And that's going to affect them in the points. It'll knock them from having the 2nd choice of lane in the final all the way down to 5th.
We found out that the bouncing, you know, they have an outside shut-off fuel valve in case there's a fire. It is closed on him and has starved the engine of gas. That's the word from the pits.
Well, here are the results. Miss Budweiser, followed by the Miss X side, and it did not finish for the T-Plus. Those are the cumulative points on the day. Miss Budweiser with 1,200 points. Steve David saying, what happened? He's going to have to get a tow to get that boat back in. No tow for the Miss Budweiser, though. A happy crew greeting a very happy driver. Remember, Mike Hansen stepped into that seat just a week ago in Detroit when Chip Hanauer was injured. A new boat, new driver, and they're leading the pack right at this point.